Hi, my name is Brittany. Thank you for being here. I am an elementary school counselor and I typically do week in the life videos about that, but about a month ago I posted a video about my journey to motherhood that talks all about my journey through IVF, and I got a lot of questions about it, so I decided to do a follow-up video about that. And just answer questions and clarify a few things. So one of the questions that I got was, why did you have to do IVF after your surgery? So in the last video, I talked about how I was diagnosed with a unicornuate uterus with a non-communicative right horn. And when the surgeon was in removing that part of my uterus, first of all, it was laparoscopically, so they actually went through my stomach, and it was robot assisted, and it was like this big deal, and I was like, cool, let me have a kid, I'm good with whatever. So while the surgeon was in there, she said that not only was there endometriosis everywhere, but my left fallopian tube twists on itself, kind of like a roller coaster, and right where it meets the ovary, so like here's your ovary and here's the fallopian tube, it's twisted in and like around itself right there, and they can't really untwist it. So that's why we had to do IVF. That's also why we were able to skip doing like IUIs. That was another question that I got. And yeah, so just because of the way it's twisted, IUIs won't work. When I ovulate, nothing really gets through the fallopian tube, and so I wouldn't really be able to get pregnant on my own, and if somehow I did, it would most likely be a tubal pregnancy. So that's why we just went straight to IVF. That's why we're doing IVF again this time around, because it's still broken. So yeah, that's why we're doing that one. So somebody asked me if I have secondary infertility, and I'm like, yes, because it's our second child, but also like we knew that this was going to happen, and so we've been prepared for it since before we had my daughter, before we had Rayleigh. So it's like, yeah, it's secondary infertility, but we were planning on having to do everything again. So while it still is sucky that we have to go through IVF, it's not like it's a big shock. So that kind of helps with all of those different emotions, if that makes sense. Oh, here's a good one. Was it hard watching your sisters have babies when you were struggling? Yes. To be very open and transparent, yes. Not that my sisters did anything wrong or that I was ever mad at them for being pregnant. I was just super jealous, especially when we had been trying for so long and I was doing the Clomid and the Femara and, you know, trying to do these things and they weren't working. It got really hard. In my last video, I kind of talked about how every time there was a pregnancy announcement, I would be super excited, but then I would just shut down on the drive home and I would lose it. I would cry. Like I would get really distant. I would distance myself from whatever sibling had announced a pregnancy. And looking back, I really wish I had handled it differently. And as the years went on, I would like to say I got better at it, but I didn't. It got harder the longer it went on because something was clearly wrong. And then once we found out about my uterus, that was really hard because I was like, it's not fair. I had this whole meltdown of, it's not fair. Why does this have to happen to me? I've been wanting to be a mom for forever. It was just really hard. And so there was a pregnancy announcement after that. And that sucked. That was so hard. Just because it's something that I really, really wanted and I wasn't getting it. And I didn't know at that point if I would ever be able to get it. So that was really difficult. And then let me think. Oh, so then when we were going through and doing all of the meds and they weren't working, my body wasn't responding. That was really hard too, because I had siblings that had just had babies, or I knew that they were going to be trying for babies, or, there were some very early pregnancy announcements just to the family. And that was really hard for me to deal with. Not that I don't love those babies, and I love my nieces and my nephews, and I am so grateful to be their aunt. And I love my siblings. It was just hard because I didn't know how to communicate to my sisters how hard it was for me. And I think they knew, but I couldn't communicate to them. And I never wanted to be the reason why they didn't feel like they could share a pregnancy announcement. So I just didn't bring it up, and it was really, really, really difficult. But we live and we learn. And then when I was pregnant, there was another pregnancy announcement, and I was like, oh, yay, yay, yay. And then later I was like, it's still not fair. I've really struggled with the whole fair thing, if you can't tell. But I was like, it just sucks that we had to go to hell and back to have a pregnancy, and they don't really have to try as hard. Some of my siblings have had some other complications. I'm not saying that all of their pregnancies or their journeys to get pregnant have been easy, because it hasn't. I only know from my perspective, and from my perspective, mine was the hardest. And that sounds really abrasive and almost rude and cocky and like, woe is me, but that's just how it seemed to me. So even after I had Rayleigh and pregnancy announcements were going on, I was still like, we have to do it again just to have another one. Like, this sucks. But anyways, that's where we're at. I had someone ask how much it cost us to do IVF the first time. Because we had to keep upping the meds, we spent right around the $30,000 mark. Another question that I got was how are we able to afford IVF? And I think I kind of, sorry, my toddler's moving. I think I kind of touched on it in the last video. My family stepped up 100%. They did this huge fundraiser, and they did different like gift baskets to auction off, different items to auction off. People donated things to auction off. One of my good friends, a coworker, did an online party, and all of the proceeds that she was going to get, she gave to me instead. And then a neighbor convinced me and helped me set up a GoFundMe. The GoFundMe was the hardest one for me to do, just because like it was really awkward asking for money. Where with the online party and the online auction, people were actually getting something in return, if that makes any sense. But that's how we were able to afford it. We were blessed just through the generosity of so many other people. We really were blessed. This time around, we just did some private financing, and that's how we are paying for it this time. Right now, I am currently taking estrace every evening. I'm going to continue doing that until next Tuesday, I believe. So the 18th. And then we'll start the Follistim and the Metapure shots. We'll go to that, we'll just keep doing those. The goal is to do an egg retrieval on June 29th. We'll see how that goes. Like I said last time, my body didn't really respond, but we're hoping that this time with the higher dosage, it does. That was another question actually was why we're starting on such a high dose. It's just something that my fertility specialist and I and my husband, we all just kind of agreed on, that since it was so hard last time and we were just constantly upping the meds. I'm serious, we were overnighting meds multiple nights a week just to get them here, and they have to be cold, and so I had to be here to sign for it. So we just decided that we'll just order the high dosages again, and then whatever we don't open, we'll send back to the pharmacy. Like I said, it's 2 states away, but that's kind of why we didn't want to play, oh, let's try this, oh, let's try this, oh, let's try this, when we know that the highest dose already worked. And if it's too much, we'll just scale down. Oh, hold on, there's jets. I thought the jets were gonna wake up my toddler, and I was like, no. But anyways, that's where we're at. Those were just some of the more common questions that I got asked. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment down below, and I can respond. But thanks for being here, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.